Mike, I got
Yep.
a question for you. What NFL team goes to hibernation in the fall and winter?
Oh, that's terrible. I mean, I guess you're trying to say the Chicago Bears, Mike. So with that being said,
Go Bears. We back team recap. We talking about the Chicago Bears. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing a lot better now, actually. I was already pretty excited. Like I was here, I was pretty excited to do the NFC North. As we've mentioned in previous videos, we're Lions fans, so I feel like if there's any division that we can especially hang our hats on, it's the NFC North. But now with that, I'm like up here, maybe up here at this point. So speaking of what might not be up here, Mike, you want to get into your thoughts about this draft class?
Oh yes, I've been ready. So obviously didn't have a first round pick, so obviously they didn't have quality draft capital to start with, and that's on you, Bears. You had this was a good draft. It was a deep draft. Even if you were a competitive team, you still had the chance, even in the second round, to get real quality players. Some at the first round level, as we've seen a lot of people in the early second round do. Those are first round caliber players, and you didn't get one. Way to go! Way to go! Cole Kmet, are you kidding me? This tight end circus roundabout that the Bears keep going through, it's a joke at this point. It's an absolute joke. And no shot at Cole Kmet. That is not what the Bears team needed at that pick. Just get yourself a wide receiver. Get yourself a real weapon. Help my man Mitch Trubisky out. Get him a tackle. Get him some protection. Don't give him Cole Kmet. How many? Do they have like 10 tight ends on the roster at this point? I don't know. And the next pick actually was a good pick. For the value for their team needs, Jalen Johnson was a good pick. So, as we've said in previous videos, swap them. It's not awful. It's not awful, but they could have done so much better. Oh, the Bears. It actually makes me happy to see such disgrace on a nice PowerPoint slide that you put together, Mike. So, I guess after me ripping them a new one, what's your thoughts?
I actually really like the. I'm a big fan of Cole Kmet and Jalen Johnson, Mike. I uh, I agree with you. The way you put it was very eloquently stated. They probably could have used help elsewhere, but I do think that what they did is they lost two veterans in Trey Burton and Prince Amukamara, and they actually filled those holes with guys who are, in my opinion, higher potential, short and long term. I really like a lot of what Cole Kmet does. He kind of reminds me of like a Zach Ertz type. I think he's not the best athlete, but he's one of the most sure-handed tight ends that I've seen coming out. I think he ran a 4.7 at the combine. I mean, if he was maybe a 4.6, 4.55 guy, I think that we're looking at like a top 15 pick here. I honestly do. I think that his ability to kind of box out defenders and just post up in the end zone or at the first down marker, I think that is really invaluable to a young quarterback. So while I agree that maybe a wide receiver would have been preferred, especially in this class, I do really like the Kmet pick. He was the number one tight end on my board. Jalen Johnson, I think that's a really interesting pick because I actually thought he should have went he should have went right in that like 32 to 35 range, and you get him at 50. So I really can't complain there. He's a really solid press man corner it'll be a really interesting combination, him and Kyle Fuller, obviously. But having a good pass rush is going to help Jalen develop, and he's going to be a number two corner for the short term. So I do really like these picks. I think that that's a solid way to fill the hole left by Prince and Mukamara. I do agree, obviously, that they kind of had some bigger holes on the board, which I guess there's no better time than the present to touch on, Mike. So you kind of showed your hand already, but what do you think are the biggest holes here?
Yeah, before I get into this, I also want to take a step back. So at that Cole Kmet pick, my number one long snapper was still available too. Doesn't mean I was going to draft him at your top pick.
No,
I
but they
think
didn't. No,
they
no,
have
no,
so
no, no,
many.
no, 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 no. You can't say that though, Mike, because they didn't lose their long snapper, so it's okay. All right, they lost Trey Burton, so you gotta, they're replacing a veteran that they lost, And they
Where's
added,
Adam Shaheen?
that's a good question, actually. What happened to Adam Shaheen? Has anybody seen Adam Shaheen this quarantine even? Or in the past 3 years?
I haven't seen him in the end zone. I don't think I've seen him on the field.
No, you're right. I agree. I agree that tight end probably wasn't it wasn't your number one priority, but I do think that it fills a hole. Okay, so even you can use your long snapper analogy all you want. I do think that it's a solid pick. And if Cole Kmet, I think that you'll concede this. If Cole Kmet becomes Zach Ertz, if he becomes a top 5 tight end in the league, this is a good pick. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah. If Jalen Johnson becomes Patrick Peterson, that's a good pick. If Travis Gibson becomes the next Everson Griffin, it's a good pick. But I don't see it happening. I guess if it happens, there's a lot of ifs. We just went over the Raiders. There's a lot of ifs, and that's why we don't like it. That's why we think the team is average 8-8, 9-7 at best.
I don't think that they're ifs though, Mike. I think that they got a really solid tight end and a really solid cornerback. Like I obviously expecting Travis Gibson to become the next Reggie White is naive, but I do think that they have 2 really solid top, probably 35 players on my board at least. And I know that they might not fill the biggest holes, but I don't know. I think we might just have to agree to disagree on that one, Mike.
Yeah, that's fine. And let's get into the picture, the big picture, the offense. And this is where that Cole Kmet pick, you'll see the full picture, and you'll see my problem with it. This offense is not good. It's not. It's. I can't say it's even average. It's not average. It's below average. And there's even some players I like. Obviously, Allen Robinson would be a great number 2 in a lot of scenarios, or a 1A, 1B at best. He's not your number 1 wide receiver. And to back him up with Ted Ginn and Anthony Miller, obviously Anthony Miller has some promise, but not when Mitch Trubisky, he's getting pressure before the ball's even snapped with this offensive line. These tackles you're putting out there. Obviously, they have some 2 good interior offensive linemen. James Daniels, who we both liked coming out last year, and then Cody Whitehair, has been a great interior offensive lineman for that. But last time I checked, there's 5 offensive linemen on the field at a time, not 2. And Mr. Trubisky we've shown under pressure, this man can't perform. He can't produce. He can't throw more than 10 yards down the field. And maybe Cole Kmet helps in that way. Maybe he helps with being able to actually make a reception within the 10 yards. And maybe that's what they're looking for. But man, Tariq Cohen's there for that. I'm sorry. Allen Robinson, he's really not a deep ball catch. He's a reception. He's your 50-50 ball guy. He's your short to mid yardage guy. You don't have anyone that could break the top of a defense. You can't. I don't know if you have a wide receiver or weapon that can really catch a ball past the 20 yards. And obviously, I'm exaggerating there, but I wouldn't take any of these players over probably any other position in the NFC North. Quarterback, I'll take the other 3. Running back, I'll take the other 3. Wide receiver 1, I'll take any of the other 3 in the NFC North. Tight end, I might take Cole Kmet over a couple of them, but not Kyle Rudolph and T.J. Hawkinson.
Oh, okay. No. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to actually break down this roster. So here's the problem with this roster, Mike. They have nobody who does anything unique at all. They have nobody who can create separation, and that's why I think Mitch Trubisky struggles. He has no time in the pocket, and you have a running back who works the short, the flats on swings, on wheel routes, whatever, angle routes, all stuff like that. If Allen Robinson, who's a number 1, as you said, should be a number 2, he can't create separation. Completely agree with that. Ted Ginn, he's pretty irrelevant to me. And Anthony Miller, again, as kind of Taylor Gabriel did last season, he works that short to intermediate part of the field. I just said Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham. They're both good at that short to intermediate part of the field. Problem is, there's a thing called spacing in the NFL. So that's the problem. I do like a lot of these pieces individually, but when you put them together, the puzzle just doesn't even make sense. And that's where I'll grant you your criticism of this team. I don't think that you can critique Mitch Trubisky, though, necessarily for his role in that, because what is he supposed to do? Honestly, this is if you want to say all those things about running back to right tackle, I do think that you have to concede that this is another Rosen in Arizona type situation. And at the end of the day, we really don't know much about Mitch Trubisky, because if you're put into a bad situation, even if you're an average player, you're going to be drugged down. So I do think that it's unfair to Mitch to pin this all on him and be like, oh, we're going to bring in Nick Foles. No, how about you bring in a competent tackle combo? Because to me, Leno and Massey are the two worst starters in the league. Maybe not individually, but as a duo. So that's where I think the problem lies. It's in the fact that they want to point the finger at Mitch when maybe Mitch isn't as much the problem. It's the other weapons on the field. I do agree with you, actually, about your NFC North, breaking that down. Mitch is the fourth best quarterback. Montgomery, fourth best running back. Allen, the fourth best wide receiver, one. But I do think that where this team begins to maybe show some promise is on the defensive side of the ball. So are you ready to get to that side, Mike, or do you want to keep discussing the offense?
This is all I'm going to say. Yeah, the blame, I don't think it should be on all Mitch Trubisky. But the blame should be on the Bears, this front office, the staff are putting this out there and calling this a competent starting 11 on offense. That's the problem. I'm not blaming Mitch Trubisky. No. Do I think they should have taken him at 2? No, he was never that value. He was never the quarterback that's going to elevate your team. I think a good example of not blaming on Mitch, but I think it's part Mitch's fault, is a guy like Kyler Murray at least made that offense electrifying. That offense necessarily wasn't the reason the Cardinals were losing last year. He made plays. He made that bad team better. Mitch does not make the bad team better. The bad team's still bad.
I agree with that. I could draw up a chart, but obviously I don't have kids art or pixel art here. I have PowerPoint. So what I'll say is, if you look at it like this, and you have good situation here, bad situation here, and then good player here, bad player here, I think the only time you learn something is when you have a good player succeed despite a bad situation, right? And you have a bad player fail in a good situation. The other two, you don't really learn that much about the players. That's kind of what I'll offer about Mitch. So I do think you can say, oh, Kyler Murray elevated Arizona, and I think I would concede that Kyler Murray is definitely better than Mitch. I don't think Mitch is a top 16 quarterback in the league, but I don't think that people want to act like, oh, this guy is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, and I just think that's incredibly unfair. I really do. And I think that a lot of Bears fans, they want to look at, oh, we were 12-4 one year, 8-8 the next year. Mitch's play kind of regressed, so let's pin the blame on him. Let's bring in Nick Foles, and everything's going to be good. I think that that's incredibly naive and just wrong, and just wrong. But with that being said, let's hop into the defense. Things do look a little bit better on defense, Mike. So on this side of the ball, what do you like, assuming you like anything about this team?
The linebacking core. They obviously, I was a big Raquan Smith. We both were big Raquan Smith fans in the draft. Athletic, that sideline to sideline. I think he's even for being a sideline to sideline linebacker. He also can make plays without necessarily having that speed. Sometimes he could just plug a gap and make a play. So Raquan Smith is one of, I think, a great player, and they have some bodies up front to give him that space as well. Obviously, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, and there's not much to say about Mac. Mac is Mac. Obviously, he's had some injury issues, but when he's healthy, he's there. I think a problem a lot with these players last year, which we did see that production from that 12-4 team, is they got defeated. They run the field way too much, and I think this is a good defense. Do I think it's the defense it was 2 years ago? No, but this is a good defense, and I still think they're going to be on the field way too much, and they're going to get defeated early. I think once you take that the chance to win and compete in this league away from these players, why risk their bodies? Why put themselves out to make plays? I don't see it, but it's still a good defense. It's going to stack up well against NFC North. Has some tough offenses. It's going to be some tough competition, and it's a good defense. Is it my favorite? No, but I think it's solid to say the least.
I agree with that. I do think that, to me, more of the onus kind of falls on Ryan Pace here, because if you do compare it to that 2018 team, this defense is worse. I can definitely say that. You look at just who they lost this offseason. So they lost Ha, they lost Nick Kwiatkowski, they lost who else did they lose? Mike Leonard Floyd, Prince Mukamara, and Nick Williams. That's 12 sacks and 289 tackles. I don't know where they're replacing that, right? So that's kind of the problem for me, is that if the defense was here and the offense was here, and now we see the defense start to fall, you need the offense to rise. And I don't think that that's happened. So to me, the blame here for this entire mess that Chicago finds themselves in is it needs to be pointed towards Ryan Pace, the general manager. I think that maybe, in kind of retrospect, you kind of wonder if maybe the Khalil Mack trade wasn't the best move for the organization, because maybe it took that 4 to 5 year window of, this is where you can win a Super Bowl with a QB on a rookie deal, and maybe it kind of made that just a 1 year window. Maybe he kind of mortgaged the long term too much. He kind of pushed his chips all on the table, and they didn't get it done. And now they're kind of feeling the repercussions of that. I think that's kind of where we're at. Obviously, I like a lot of these pieces. I'm a big Roquan fan, as you said. Eddie Jackson, I think, is probably one of, if not the most underrated safety in the entire NFL. I think that Kyle Fuller and Jalen Johnson, that can be a good cornerback duo for years to come. And as you said, Hicks and Goldman are solid in a 3-4. So I think there is a lot of promise, but the problem is that the defense hasn't elevated at all. It's actually went down to me. And that's not going to work. That's not going to work when the offense hasn't elevated as well.
Yeah, on top of that, just kind of speaking to the incompetency of Ryan Pace, the free agent signings on this side of the ball. So you had a budding player in Leonard Floyd who, probably sack maybe was – the sacks weren't there. The actual numbers weren't there. But, you've seen it. He had progress there, and he was a first-round pick, I think a top 10 pick. And you signed Robert Quinn, who at best for this team is probably going to be a 8 to 10 sack guy. He's not going to give you bulk production. And then you take a proven veteran like Prince Mukamara, and you sign him with, at this point, a bust, Artie Burns, who showed no potential and has truly got beaten. And in year 2 and 3 really didn't show development. So you took a player that hasn't shown development, and then strong safety. Or just safety outside of Eddie Jackson. You had a player like HaHa Clinton-Dix. A lot of potential. Young players. Had some really good all-pro seasons. And you let him go to the Cowboys for what? $4 or $5 million a year? Are you kidding me? You just got worse in these positions. And you got somehow older in 2 of them. But at the end of the day, who cares what players are playing? It's really about winning games, and that brings us to the schedule. So I guess you seem to be a little more optimistic than I do on this team. What are some games you think that show a lot maybe about the Bears and maybe they have a chance to win?
To be completely honest, I think there is a world. Maybe it's not this one. No, maybe it's not this one. But there is a world where this team can start 4-0. And that might sound like a hot take to you, but we'll touch on the Lions in a future video. I think that they can reasonably beat the Lions. We've already talked about the Giants. I think these two teams actually match up decently well in talent, decently well in terms of maybe the Bears' offense isn't up to par, but at the same time, we were talking about how bad that Giants' offense is if they face a good defense. I do think the Bears have a good defense. The Falcons, they probably need to trade off half their team, which we'll touch on in a future video. And the Colts, they have, 37-year-old Philip Rivers. So I do think that there is a world where this team goes 4-0 in the first 4 weeks, and then maybe that can start a snowball effect. I'm not to the point where I think this team is going to be a top 3 pick next year. I still think that they could compete for maybe second or third in the NFC North. It's probably not the most likely scenario, but I think that it's possible. So the way you're looking at me, what games, if any, do you think the Bears are going to win next year? Or are they going 0-16?
Oh, I'm throwing it right on the head. The same way you said, in some world they might be able to start 4-0. I think there's a good chance they start 0-5. I wouldn't say good. I'll take it back a little bit. Not a good chance, but a very possible chance. I think the Lions have a better roster. And obviously the Lions week 1 is always an interesting thing to see. They start off hot, start off promising, and man, they let down real quick. So I think that's when we could see real. It's a potential win, but I'll take the Lions, the Giants, the talent there, Saquon Barkley, the defense, which has been improved. I think that's a game that the Bears are going to lose. The Atlanta Falcons, like they obviously underperformed last year. They had 12 of their starting 11 were out on defense, but that's a game they should lose. They can't stop Julio Jones. Stop it.
Oh, you're saying,
Jalen.
oh, whoa. Yeah, well, okay. You put Kyle Fuller and Eddie Jackson and just bracket this guy. You can stop him all day. The real problem is Jalen Johnson or R.D. Burns going to be able to cover Calvin Ridley? That's the real question.
No, that's it. No.
I kind of disagree. And then that's a team who they lost Devonta Freeman, they lost Austin Hooper. I think that's a team that's kind of on the downswing. So I definitely think that's a winnable game for the Bears. The only problem is that you're in Atlanta, obviously. And then go ahead, keep going. You got Colts and Bucks left.
The Colts, I'm not what the Colts did on offense. I'm not a huge fan of, but man, they got pressure up front. DeForest Buckner is an animal. One of my top dogs. And he's going to rip Mitch a new one. And if Mitch makes it past week 4, I think that's an accomplishment and win for him all on its own. And I think the Bucks, I think that's an obvious. I just chalk that one up as a loss right now. I don't think we even have to play the game. Let's go right to week 6. I think that's what the Bears wish they could Chicago go right to week 6 because I think that's their first winnable game. I think for a true chance. I don't think that, and I'm not saying winnable. I don't even know if there's. I don't think I'd have them as favors, but I think that's where it starts getting interesting for them. So, do I think this is an 0-16 team? No, they will beat some teams. I think this is probably a 4 to 5 win team. And I know maybe I ripped on them too hard. Maybe I made it sound like they're going to be in the Trevor Lawrence lottery, but I don't think this is a good team, and I don't. If anything, they got worse this offseason. And I think you would agree with that. It's disappointing because they got some players, they got some dogs on that defensive side of the ball because they don't got any on offense other than those 2 interior offensive linemen. But
So do you think if they're 0-5, 0-6, 0-17, whatever you want to say, 0-86, do you think that at some point, like at what point is it best for them to just say, all right, let's tank for Trevor? Like at what point are you kind of putting that? Are you saying after week 4, or do you think they don't even need to choose? It's just going to happen regardless.
this is a team that needs a lot of help. There's a lot of holes. Trevor Lawrence ain't the answer. And I'd hate to be a Bears fan and think that that's going to be the answer. Mitch Trubisky, we've already went over it. We don't think it's necessarily the full problem. The full problem is the full roster. There's 22 players that are 11 on each side. And then you need depth behind that. And they don't even have the starters and a lot of those positions that are competent. So I think obviously at that point it's a rebuild. If you go 0-5, you're rebuilding. It's a 3-year program. You get this coach, this GM out of here, and you try to salvage what you can. Khalil Mack has had some serious injury history. And how much more are you going to get out of Khalil Mack in his prime? Obviously, Robert Quinn, that's almost as good as useless after this year if you're not competing. There's so many players like that were good, but now you're just wasting their prime at that point. They don't fit with your time gap if you're in a rebuild. I think they're just not in a good position.
No, I for the most part agree. I don't think that I'm necessarily as bullish on it as you are. I do think that there are some solid potential pieces on the roster, but I do agree that there's some major holes as well. I just don't know. I really don't know if the answer is, well, I can tell you straight up, the answer is not, oh, we just need to replace Mitch. Of course, improving at quarterback would help. But at the end of the day, no matter who you put, if you could put Pat Mahomes on this team, and when he has Charles Leno and Bobby Massey blocking for him, protecting him on the edges, we've went over every team's D-line so far, and they've all been really solid. Those two tackles, that's not going to fly. That's just not going to fly. So I don't think it matters who you put at quarterback right now, and that's the one misconception I think it does exist with every Bears fan. It's like, oh, Mitch is the problem. Mitch is the problem. Why do we trade for Mitch? When I don't think that that's the problem. Like, I really don't. I think that what you really need to do or to have done is work on filling those other holes, and then you would see Mitch's play rise along with others. I think that I think I would feel really bad for Bears fans if they traded for Khalil Mack and then they lose the first couple games this year and you're trading away Khalil Mack. But I don't think that that's the most unrealistic scenario. I really don't. You know?
Yeah, I'd agree. So I have a question for you. In your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
is this a bottom 5 team, bottom 10 team, or do you think neither? Because man, if you say neither, man, I'm gonna have to slap you. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to drive over, which I can't right now. Stay at home or the quarantine. Day 225. But where do you think this team falls?
Hmm. That's a really good question. Honestly, oh man. I see the problem is I really don't want to say it's a bottom 10 team. I really don't. I put your hand down. No, 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 no. I think that I will. I think I will say it's a bottom 10 team just based on the fact that, like I said, that offensive puzzle just doesn't work. It doesn't work. But man, that defense is still good, Mike. I think that if we once we finish these 32 videos, I think that we're going to find that this defense is better than a lot of others in the league. I still think that this defense has the potential to be like in that 7 to 10 range, maybe even higher than that. And this isn't the strongest schedule offensively. So I do think they will just win games by the nature of their defense and by having an okay offense. I do think they have an okay to bad offense, obviously. But I wouldn't be shocked. I'll say right now, I'll say bottom 10, but I wouldn't be shocked if they I really wouldn't be shocked if they finish 7-9 and 9-7. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't be astonished by that. So I'll flip that question to you. Obviously, you do think that they are like a bottom 5 team?
Absolutely. You say strong schedule, not a strong schedule offense. I'm sorry, and I'll just not try to get ahead of ourselves. I've got some team recaps, but the Lions' offense was not a problem. When Stafford was in last year, it was a top 5 offense. He had a top 5 in most quarterback stats. The Falcons definitely not been a problem from them. It's definitely been that defensive side of the ball. Matt Ryan, if you 2 years ago, his stats were. I mean, I'm gonna throw you off a little bit here, but like if you look his stats in 2018, comparable to his MVP season, just other quarterbacks elevated the game just a little bit more, but he had a solid season. That offense had a solid season. It wasn't the problem last year. The Colts, I have questions, but this talent, they have some players. They have some players in the offense. I think adding uh, Pittman and having T.Y. Hilton and Phillip Rivers, I don't know if it's an upgrade from Brissett, but it's something. And then Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack, man, you're just gonna pound. You're just gonna bring him to Pound Town, and then the Bucks. I don't want to say much about the Bucks, but the Rams. Obviously, they're not the offense they were, but they're competent to say the least. And then the Saints. I don't have to talk about them either. Then the Titans. Derrick Henry's gonna have a field day. This team could pass rush, but I don't know if it can stop the run, and I don't know if it can stop a player like Derrick Henry. And then
Oh,
interdivision
stop
also.
it. No,
I
no,
think
no, 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 no,
Packers.
no, 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 no. You can't say that when you have Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, you have the ghost of Robert Quinn, and you have Khalil Mack. You can't say that you don't know if this team can stop the run. You have Akeem Hicks, you have Eddie Goldman. This team is not bad on defense, Mike. None of those offenses that you said actually scare me that much with this defense. They really, really don't. Because a lot of those are quarterbacks who are absolute statues in the pocket, and I'm going to have who don't have good offensive lines. If you're talking about the Lions, Falcons, teams like that, they don't have great offensive lines. So I think that they're going to win with their front 7, and then they don't have a bad back 4 with Kyle Fuller, Eddie Jackson, and now Jalen Johnson. I think that what you're going to see is you're going to see them able to just play like press man and kind of bracket those top receivers and then just get after the passer. They're still going to be able to have 7 guys in the box, Mike, and I do think that they'll be able to neutralize Derrick Henry. And then where are you winning elsewhere? Is Ryan Tannehill going to stand in there with Khalil Mack bearing down his throat and throw the ball to a covered AJ Brown, excuse me? Like, I'm not really worried about that. The question to me is, can Mitch score 17 points on the other end? And I believe I agree with you that the that the answer is probably no. But I mean, Allen Robinson is a Pro Bowl receiver, sure. Anthony Miller is a budding, I don't want to say star, but he's a breakout candidate. Tariq Cohen, we've seen what he can do in the open field, and luckily Mitch doesn't have to throw him the ball very far to get it to him. To me, the question just comes down to that O line. That's it, and it's a bad O line, but can they last as long as their defense can? I guess is the question. And obviously, you think no. I tend to think yes. But if you think yes to Mike up, leave a like. Leave a like, leave a comment, even subscribe. If you're a Bears fan, subscribe for me. If you're a Bears hater, subscribe for Mike. Simple as that. Everybody should be subscribing. You know, you see it the same way, Mike, right?
Yeah, hit that subscribe button, or there's a button that looks like a thumbs up. You can hit that one too, or you can comment,
or hit the thumbs down. We'll take thumbs down at this point. Like, I don't blame you if you were born and raised in Illinois. I don't blame you if you want a thumbs down just for the absolute temerity that this man below me had when talking about your team.
It's not a thumbs down to me. It's a thumbs down to the Bears, and they agree with me. So actually, if you want to give us a thumbs down, just make sure you like. Also, if you could leave a comment and a subscribe to like be like, that wasn't for me. It was for the Bears. Like, you could just clarify. It'd be cool. But also, we'll answer comments. If you have any questions or you think we are absolutely wrong, let us know. I'm not wrong. Prevo, questionable. But if you have a team that you'd like us to do, and maybe you want something touched on, let us know. Because if you are a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, you want to know what our thoughts on the Brady Gronk reunion. What's our next video going to be, Prevo?
Guess we'd have to go to Tampa Bay, wouldn't we?
Yes, we would. We're here for you guys. And we're just here just to give you some football knowledge. Obviously, NFC North we're a little more passionate about, but we're passionate about football. That's what we're here for. So, I think with that, I think we mic'd in, and now we mic'ing out.